Now I have the honor of introducing our speaker for this final session of the morning sessions. So our next speaker is a pioneer and leading provider of smart project delivery systems and the CEO of Realization Technologies. Under his leadership, the company has delivered more than 7 billion of documented impact on its customers' cash and profits. In 2016, he received a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Theory of Constraint International Organization for his contributions to project and factory planning and control. He has published more than 40 articles in trade magazines, including Industry Week, Hardware On Point magazine, and publications of professional organizations such as Project Management Institute and American Production and Inventory Control Society. Please help me give a big warm welcome to Sanjeev Gupta, the CEO of Realization Technologies. Sanjeev, welcome on board. We cannot wait to learn more about predictive control.
Thank you, Shore. And hello, everyone. I know you are all in different parts of the world. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As many of you might know that computerized project controls were introduced about 64 years ago. In 1957, when the US Navy wanted to manage its polarized submarine program, they came up with the PER technique, which is project evaluation and review techniques. And in the last 64 years, for example, last year, more than about $8 billion was invested in homegrown systems or off-the-shelf software for project planning and control. And my estimate is that in the last 64 years, close to $100 billion, if not $250 billion, have gone into information technology for project management, which is project planning, scheduling, and control. At the same time, it's kind of a little bit sad that no matter what projects you look at, no matter what industry you look at, the project performance is not something to write home about. So, for example, last year, depending on what studies you pick up, you'll find that in construction projects, the average cost overrun was somewhere between 15% to 25%. This is the average. Scheduled overruns were even worse, somewhere between 20% to 50% scheduled overruns in large construction projects. And you can pick up reports from the Department of Defense that talk about weapon systems development and aerospace and defense programs, same story. IT projects, similar story. And pharmaceutical product development. It used to take 10 years to bring a new drug to market. Now it takes 11 years, right? And of course, we all know that projects get more complex over time, but so does the technology to do projects in terms of technical work. So in pharmaceutical product development, yes, the molecular discovery, etc., is becoming more difficult, but the tools for diagnosis and analysis and discovery of molecules are also becoming much better, right? So the where we feel that what has happened is, especially in the area of project controls, project planning, project scheduling, is that the means have become an end into themselves. And what I mean by that is that the purpose of project control, we know, is to deliver more projects on time. But it looks like whether we talk to our customers or from the vendor side, the emphasis is always on how we can produce more reports faster, how we can get better data, how we can convert this data, whether it is to predictive analytics or AI or whatever else, into more reports, more dashboards much faster. And that, I think, is the perspective that needs to change. I think we can do much better. Right? So, for example, at Realization, Shore talked about it a little bit. We were the first company to bring web technology to projects, and we have kept on trend, using the latest technologies. But what we have also done is we have brought about conceptual breakthroughs in project planning, scheduling, and control, and that has allowed us to actually make an impact on the customer's bottom line by helping them deliver their projects faster or delivering projects with fewer resources. And this spans all types of projects, from large construction projects, for example, building a shipyard, or upgrading a nuclear power plant, or pharmaceutical product development projects, high-tech product development projects, maintenance and repair of aircraft, maintenance and repair of aircraft carriers, which are about 5-year projects with about 5,000 to 6,000 people working on a project at a time. And we have also been honored with the industry awards, and the ones that you might recognize are Shingo Prize and the Franz Edelman Award, which is known as the Super Bowl of operations research. So the point I'm making is that if we keep our eye on the ball, which is the purpose of project controls or project planning and scheduling, is not to deliver more reports, is to deliver more projects on time. In fact, at realization, always the challenge I have for my team is we want to provide fewer reports. Let's reduce the number of reports that we provide to managers, and let's increase the number of projects that come in on time. Right? And so what I'm proud to talk about, I'm very happy that we are talking to this audience, because we also want your feedback in terms of our latest innovation. And this latest innovation, so let me just talk a little bit about the previous innovations. So we were the first company, in addition to bringing web-based technology, etc., we also brought the idea of flow-based scheduling to projects, to single projects as well as multiple projects. And yet we found that something was missing. Of course, the journey to improve never ends. And what we found was that still our customers, senior executives especially, what they were clamoring for was, give me some advance warning. And their refrain constantly was, we understand projects are difficult. We understand that in projects, nothing will go according to plan. We understand that. So we don't get surprised when projects go off track. But why do we find out in a 15-month project that the project is on time for 12 months, and then suddenly in month 13, we find that the project is going to be 6 months late? Right? So that is the frustration of the top management, that everything seems to be on track for a long while, and then suddenly the project is massively late. And if you talk to the frontline managers as well as the PMO offices, their retort is that, hey, but we reported the delays and changes as they happened. It's not as if we are hiding something. Everything is out there. And especially with the new information technology, we are collecting data and more in real time. The quality of data collection is improving because we are also eliminating manual steps in data collection. So this is kind of a dilemma, that on the one hand, you are getting latest information, but on the other hand, executives feel that they're getting constantly surprised. Right? So the inspiration for the latest innovation, and this was by chance, just in a period of 2 months, this was about 4.5 years ago. I happened to talk to a vice admiral in the US Navy and a chief executive of an engineering, procurement, and construction company in India, and a high-tech product development company, their CTO. And all of them said the same thing, that we want something like a GPS system. We are driving, we know in driving, we will have bottlenecks, we will have traffic jams, but at least our GPS system is able to tell us whether we will get to our destination on time or not. And it can also tell us if there are alternative routes available. So from a project control system, we will figure out, this was their point, that we will figure out what the smartest route is. At least just tell us that the project is going to be late, not at the last minute, throw us a surprise that is going to be late by 6 months, but tell us ahead of time when we can react. After all, we have options available in projects. We have expediting capacity available. We have the technical smarts available to figure things out, to get projects back on track. And you hear it once, you dismiss it. The second time you hear it, you kind of think about it. But when 3 customers tell you within a period of 2 months, you got to think about it in terms of, yeah, why not? Why can't we make something like Google Maps possible in projects? So we pondered this question in our company, for quite some time, and we went back and forth. We talked about algorithms. We said, okay, but we have the algorithms for scheduling. We talked about making data collection more real time, but we said, we are collecting data quite pretty much in real time. And if you have a year-long project, it doesn't matter whether you go from your data collection from hourly basis to second by second basis. It doesn't matter. So the data collection is also happening fast, but there is something that is missing. And then it suddenly hit us that one advantage that Google Maps has or a GPS system has that projects do not have is that in Google Maps, the traffic conditions change, but the roadmap on which that information is being processed is not changing. And so the basic roadmap is not changing. Yeah, you might have a construction going on at some point in time where you might have a certain roadblock, but the roadmap is not changing minute by minute or hour by hour. And in fact, if I were to ask you, would you trust your GPS system if the map was changing all the time? You would say, no, of course not. I would just turn the GPS off, look outside of my window, or look at some of the landmarks and try to get to the destination based on my subjective judgment. And isn't that what is happening in projects? That as projects evolve, your project plans change because your technical scope is changing. There's rework that is happening. Resources are not available as exactly as planned. And what ends up happening is that project planners, they go into the system and they end up changing the project plan a lot, which is fine. But what it means is that as a predictive tool, the plan is pretty useless. So if the plan is going to keep changing and you want to take actions to prevent delays 3 months out, you're not going to rely on that plan. And the result is that not only are your projections unreliable, but now the plan actually starts following execution. So what a lot of times what happens is that instead of the plan guiding execution, now the plan is just being updated to bring it in line with the reality of what happened in execution. And that is where a lot of project management offices end up spending their effort. And on top of that, you have multiple plans and systems. And what do we mean by that? That executives, there's a formal plan in the system if you have formal project management. Sometimes you don't, then you have many informal plans. But there's a formal plan in the system, which is either used to track your earned value or provide some kind of reports that are mandatory but useless in terms of getting your project done on time. Or you have to submit your plan to your customer, and that plan tends to be different from what you are using on a day-to-day basis. What executives want, that is being either on a whiteboard or a PowerPoint or a separate project plan. And the front line has their own small plans to manage their day-to-day work. And the conceptual breakthrough that we realized we needed was that in projects also we need something like a map. Plans have to change because projects do change. But is it possible to come up with a project map that does not change? A map that stays the same even as plans keep changing. And that is what I want to show you, and I would love your feedback. And I have my colleague, Deepak, who is going to show us the software, and we'll try to illustrate the concept of smart maps and what is the difference between a smart map and a plan. So it's not a full-fledged software demo. All we want to do is focus on the idea of smart maps. So with that, I'm going to hand over the screen to Deepak, and I'll continue talking. Right, so the example we picked up, we could have picked up any project, but we picked up a cement plant construction project. And so you know that this construction project can take somewhere between 12 to 18 months, starting from basic engineering all the way to commissioning of the plant. And it's a pretty complex project. But in its essence, you have the basic plant, you have the pyro part of the plant where you are doing all the fireworks and creating the basic chemical. Then you have a grinding part, and all of this has to come together. And to do all this work, a typical cement plant has a construction project will have about 10,000 line items in their project plan. So at that 10,000 line item level, you have things that will change. The critical path will shift all the time. Right? These activities are somewhere between 1 day to 20 days long. and you start doing the work. You say, okay, ideally we want the specs for the preheater before in parallel to specs for the heater, right? But in execution, as you hit the roadblocks, you end up changing the sequence. And then when the sequence changes, your schedule changes. So the PMO has to go in and redo the sequence to match the reality of what people on the front line are executing, right? And then you say, okay, you know what? At that level, things are changing, but we also have summary tasks. So, we can just look at the summary tasks. Can you just bring up all the summary tasks, Deepak? Just yeah. Right. So we have summary tasks. Aren't they good enough? And the answer is not. Because what do these summary tasks tell you? Nothing. They're just a summary of timeline of when the first activity below the summary task started and when it is projected to finish. It can also tell you how much percentage of that work has been finished. But as a management tool, it's not telling management anything as to when the project will finish. Right? So summary task is maybe a simpler visualization of what is happening to the timelines in the projects, but as a predictive tool, is nothing. It does nothing for you. Right? Versus if we look at a map, a project map, what we call a project map, let's look at a project map. Right? So the project map is slightly different. So it's more than the technical dependencies of the sequence of work. A project map actually encapsulates management strategy. So we'll pick an example. So for this particular plant, you need a basic engineering to be done. So you have the basic engineering for the cement plant, basic engineering for the pyro, and the basic engineering for the grinder. In theoretically, you could start all this work in parallel. And as you finish engineering, you can start doing the ordering. And as you get the equipment, you can start, get the various materials, you can start the civil works, etc. But as a management strategy, management decides that, you know what, we have limited resources. Focus and finish is a better strategy. So let's first focus and finish the basic engineering for the cement plant. Then we will do the basic engineering for the pyro and the grinding part. And the advantage of that is that not only do you finish work faster, but also you minimize the rework, right? So this is a risk mitigation strategy, a resource management strategy that is being prescribed at the project map level. And then management in this particular case also understood from their past experience that if we start ordering stuff before the engineering is complete, then we end up changing the specs a lot. So no, let's just focus and finish the engineering. And we know that if we focus in our resources, we can get that thing done in a period of about a month. And we will start ordering after that, right? And if we have to interact with vendors, we will interact with them during the 24-day period. Right? So anyway, so the point here is that this project map is not a summary of a project plan. The project map actually is the strategy of delivering your project that management decides. And this delivery strategy is about how limited resources will be deployed section by section. This delivery strategy is also about how we will mitigate the risks. And it can also be about optimizing cash flow. So cash flow in terms of both outflow of cash and inflow of cash. So you can decide to do the work that requires expensive procurement later, as long as it doesn't affect the critical path. And similarly, on the output side, you can try to achieve certain milestones that will result in cash flow for your business. You can prioritize them over the other milestones, right? So what you want from the project, how you manage the resources, how you manage the risks, how you organize your resources or even the organization, all that gets reflected in the project map. And the detailed project plans, detailed activities get subordinated to this project map. Right? So you can still capture all the details here down to the work where it happens at a daily level, what the work is happening, down to the drawing level or the construction or the concreting part, right? And But at a high level, what you have is a project map that guides the entire project. And as long as the management strategy does not change, the project map will not change. Right? That is the beauty of it. That regardless of what happens down in the details, the strategy is not changing. And in our experience, strategy change is rarely called for. We had one experience where there was a shipyard that was being constructed, and there was some steel, specialty steel that was required to make the ship lifts that is part of the shipyard. And this vendor that was supplying the steel went bankrupt. Steel was delayed for 9 months. So management had to go in and alter their project delivery strategy. So the project map changed. But on the other hand, we have thermal power plants, we have aerospace and defense programs, aircraft carrier maintenance and overhaul, where over 3-4 years, the project map does not change. Yeah, there are expediting actions that can change. For example, if you are running behind schedule, you can do things like let's do some parallelization, but that is about it. The basic project map is not changing, right? Versus if I go to the project plan, in the project plan, as the details change, my summary tasks keep getting longer or shorter, and without any idea of what it means for the project. What we are showing you is that when we have a project map, you start getting reliable projections just because of the fact that your project delivery strategy is not changing, hence the map is not changing. And then you can take it a step further, right? So you can get a summary of your timeline, right? So at some level, this is not different from what you will get from any other software. The only difference is reliable. So when a project map tells you that a project is going to finish on such and such date, you can be pretty sure that it will finish on that date. Or in terms of financials, when it gives you financials, it's not telling you just what has happened with the financials, how much money you have already spent. It can also give you very reliable projections of what the cash outflow and inflow will be looking into the future, because that projection is coming from the project map, not from the details in the weeds of the daily activities. So the projections are much more reliable. And the last piece, which is important, is that management can make decisions at this map level. Right? So if you tell managers that a project is going all right, and you have a 10,000 line item schedule, or sometimes 100,000 line item schedule, how does anyone decide where to focus? Right? It's just impossible for management to have that strategy. Right? So at the most, they might use their wisdom and experience and give some manual instructions, but all that happens outside of the system. With the project map, the beauty is that you can put those decisions right into the software, and it goes down to the daily execution details. Right? So to be sure, you can create such a project map. You don't need our software to create this project map. You can create it in Microsoft Project also, or Primavera also. The difference here is the way we integrate the plans and the project map, the way we run our scheduling algorithms. And the plans and the daily schedules are always subordinated to the project map. And whatever happens on a daily level, it automatically gets fed back to the project map to know real-time status, projections, not status, projections about where the project is going to be. And the last piece is also important. What this project map, as we kind of deployed it more and more, so suddenly we found that now you can actually not just align different silos within a project within your company, but sometimes a lot of projects cross enterprises, especially in construction where everyone knows that, but even in product development. In pharmaceutical product development, you have the pharma company, you have a clinical research organization, and no one wants anyone else to peek into their details, right? That is their thing. They want to manage the details without too much interference from someone else. But if you have a shared project map, suddenly you can start aligning all the different players that are in the project, even if they are not inside your company. right? So really, it makes this cross-enterprise project delivery, project synchronization possible for the first time. And what we have really talked about is really real control, right? So it's not just about taking daily reports, converting it into some management reports, but control is not just about feedback. Control is also about, when you say control in an engineering sense, what you also mean is that I get a feedback, and based on that feedback, I turn some buttons and things get back on track. Right? So that is what these maps allow you to do. They're not just providing you forward looking information that you can trust, but through the maps, you can actually implement your decisions down to the front line. And that is kind of the innovation. And we would love to, again, get your feedback. Our team is there at the booth. Love to answer your questions. We can also, if during the conference you are busy with other things, we would love to hear back from you by email. My email, it's very simple: sgupta, SGUP as in Peter, T as in Thomas, A as in Apple, at realization.com. So please give us your feedback. Tell us, if we are, we think it's a breakthrough because we have implemented it successfully in a number of different types of projects. But we would love to hear from you in terms of, is it applicable to your type of an project or not? And actually, we would love to engage with you. If you really want projects on time instead of more dashboards, more information, more reports, if you really want to get more projects on time, we would love to really engage with you. And Deepak, thank you for uh, helping me with the software demo. And Shore, thanks for the opportunity.
Wow, thank you so much, Deepak. Such an innovative way of planning. Good. I liked it. I like the, sorry, Sanjeev. I like the analogy you used with comparison with Google Map and reduced way of reporting, innovative way of planning. Really quite innovative approach that you have invented. Congratulations to you and the team. And thank you for sharing this innovative approach to us.
Thank you.
So I think we have time for a couple of questions because we are a
Absolutely.
bit over time. So if you don't mind, I will just go over some of the
Yeah.
questions from the audience. So um, one of the audience is thinking, is it really similar to resource loading schedule? Kind of, is it smart map similar to a resource loaded P6 schedule or no?
Correct. So you can do, great question, and it's, I think, good clarification. So I can do resource leveling or resource loading even at the detailed plan level. Right? There is, within critical path, you have resource level critical path, you have critical chain project management. All these techniques available for resource leveling. I think the difference here is that instead of managing resources activity by activity, the project map allows you to make higher level resource management and resource leveling decisions, which is, I've got 50 engineers. So first I'm going to focus the 50 engineers on the engineering of the plant. Then I'm going to take them and focus them on the grinder part or the pyro part. Right? So it's really higher level decisions, which are much more tractable and much more sticky, rather than day-to-day decisions of, I'm going to move Deepak from here to here or Jerry from here to there.
Okay, great. And we have a couple of questions on really how can you integrate this smart tool with Primavera P6 and other applications such as Excel for reporting or
Yeah.
with even 3D, 4D applications. So is it just a standalone planning software that if you're going to use this, then you are not going to use P6? Is it replacing P6 or it can complement that or it can be a link? If you just provide more insight on that, we appreciate it.
Absolutely. So the plans which are below the project map, they can exist, those details can exist in our system or they can come from other systems. And so, for example, many companies, the question says, you have Primavera plans, and you might have multiple vendors with their own plans. You might have engineering systems where you are tracking the engineering drawings completion. You might have supply chain management systems where you're tracking materials ordering and equipment ordering, right? All that can be automatically integrated into the smart map. And the beauty is that as those transactions happen there, they automatically get rolled up into management decisions, into management projections. And as management make decisions, those decisions can flow back into those systems.
Okay, great. And a lot of people are asking for more information on this is smart maps and realization technologies. So, would there be any guide that they can refer to at a later date, or do you have to just go to your booth and contact you if
That's a
you can
great one.
email them more information?
Yeah. So we don't have a lot of marketing material because we have been busy with the innovation and kind of trying to perfect the innovation. So we have technical documents, but not marketing documents. But we will try to find something and put it up on the booth. But I think the best way is just talk to us and let's show you the software. And we might later on also produce a video of the software demo that you can see. But for us, what will be valuable is if we can talk to you, because that way we can also get your feedback.
Definitely, you intrigued our interest, Sanjeev, and I see a lot of comments that people want to learn more, and especially for turnaround type projects, that would be really helpful because you have to make quick decisions so fast. So, yeah, a lot of people are asking for more guided support and documents on this. So, if we can provide that, that would be great. But that's a good thing for our audience to see where the technology is heading us in the future. It's really like what Sanjeev just showed us is truly transformational in the way that we do traditional planning. I thought the next generation of planning scheduling is perhaps 3D, 4D, but what you have shown us was really an eye-opening. So thank you so much, Sanjeev. Again, if there is any question, please check Realization Technologies booth. There will be someone there to assist you and give you more guidance. Sanjeev will also be there to help you. But yeah, I'm really amazed at where we are heading in the future. So
Yeah,
thanks again, Sanjeev. Any final thoughts before we adjourn this session and the morning sessions of today?
No, are you asking me? So no, I think I'm good. And thank you again for the opportunity. I think it's a great gathering. And best
Very
of luck
good.
to
Thank you,
everyone.
Sanjeev, for sharing this innovation with us.